Content warning: domestic abuse, spousal abuse, gender abuse, misogynoir, verbal abuse. Okay? Content warning. So this is a short story called Sweat by Zora and Neale Hurston, the iconic one. And it is available online, so if you'd like to read along with me, you can read along, or you can just listen. Sweat. It was 11 o'clock of a spring night in Florida. It was Sunday. Any other night, Delia Jones would have been in bed for 2 hours at this time. But she was a washwoman, and Monday morning meant a great deal to her. So she collected the soiled clothes on Saturday when she returned to clean things. Sunday night after church, she sorted them and put the white things to soak. It saved her almost a half-day's start. A great hamper in the bedroom held the clothes that she brought home. It was so much neater than a number of bundles lying around. She squatted in the kitchen floor beside the great pile of clothes, sorting them into small heaps according to color, and humming a song in a mournful key, but wondering through it all where Sykes, her husband, had gone with her horse and buckboard. Just then, something long, round, limp, and black fell upon her shoulders and slid her to the floor beside her. A great terror took hold of her. It softened her knees and dried her mouth so that it was a full minute before she could cry out or move. Then she saw that it was the big bull whip her husband liked to carry when he drove. She lifted her eyes to the door and saw him standing there, bent over with laughter at her fright. She screamed at him. "Sykes, what you throw that whip on me like that? You know it would scare me. Looks just like a snake, and you knows how scared I is of snakes." "Course I knowed it. That's how come I done it." He slapped his leg with his hand and almost rolled on the ground in his mirth. "If you such a big fool that you got to have a fit over an earthworm or a string, I don't care how bad I scare you." "You ain't got no business doing it. God knows it's a sin. Some days I'm gonna drop dead from some of your foolishness. Another thing, where you been with my rig? I feeds that pony. He ain't for you to be driving with no bullwhip." "You sure is one aggravating nigger woman," he declared and stepped into the room. She resumed her work and did not answer him at once. "I done told you time and again to keep them white folks' clothes out of this house." He picked up the whip and glared down at her. Delia went on with her work. She went out into the yard and returned with a galvanized tub and set it on the wash bench. She saw that Sykes had kicked all the clothes together again and now stood in her way truculently, his whole manner hoping, praying for an argument. But she walked calmly around him and commenced to resort the things. "Next time I'm gonna kick him outdoors," he threatened as he struck a match along the leg of his corduroy breeches. Delia never looked up from her work, and her thin, stooped shoulders sagged further. "I ain't for no fuss tonight, Sykes. I just come from taking sacrament at the church house." He snorted scornfully. "Yeah, you just come from the church house on a Sunday night, but here you is, gonna work on them clothes. You ain't nothing but a hypocrite. One of them amen corner Christians, sing, whoop, and shout, then come home and wash white folks' clothes on the Sabbath." He stepped roughly upon the whitest pile of things, kicking them helter-skelter as he crossed the room. His wife gave a little scream of dismay and quickly gathered them together again. "Sykes, You quit grinding dirt into these clothes. How can I get through by Saturday if I don't start on Sunday? I don't care if you never get through anyhow. I done promised God and a couple other men I ain't gonna have it in my house. Don't give me no lip neither. Else I'll throw him out and put my fist upside your head to boot. Delia's habitual meekness seemed to slip from her shoulders like a blown scarf. She was on her feet, her poor little body, her bare knuckly hands, bravely defying the strapping hulk before her. Look at here, Sykes. You done gone too far. I've been married to you for 15 years and I've been taking in washing for 15 years. Sweat, sweat, sweat. Work and sweat, cry and sweat, pray and sweat. What's that got to do with me? He asked brutally. What's it got to do with you, Sykes? My tub of subs is filled your belly with victuals more than your hands has filled it. My sweat is done paid for this house and I reckon I can keep on sweating in it. She seized the iron skillet from the stove and struck a defensive pose, which act surprised him greatly, coming from her. It cowed him, and he did not strike her, as he usually did. Nah, you won't, she panted. That old snaggletooth black woman you running with ain't coming here to pile up on my sweat and blood. You ain't paid for nothing on this place, and I'm gonna stay right here till I'm toted out foot foremost. Well, you better quit getting me riled up, else they'll be toting you out sooner than you expect. I'm so tired of you, I don't know what to do. God, I hate skinny women. A little awed by this new Delia, he sidled out of the door and slammed the back gate after him. He did not say where he had gone, but she knew too well. She knew very well that he would not return until nearly daybreak also. Her work over, she went on to bed, but not to sleep at once. Things had come to a pretty pass. She lay awake, gazing upon the debris that cluttered their matrimonial trail. Not an image left standing along the way. Anything like flowers had long ago been drowned in the salty stream that had been pressed from her heart. Her tears, her sweat, her blood. She had brought love to the union, and he had brought a longing after the flesh. 2 months after the wedding, he had given her the first brutal beating. She had the memory of his numerous trips to Orlando with all of his wages when he had returned penniless, even before the first year had passed. She was young and soft then, but now she thought of her knotty, muscled limbs, her harsh, knuckly hands, and drew herself up into an unhappy little ball in the middle of the big feather bed. Too late now to hope for love. Even if it were not Bertha, it would be someone else. This case differed from the others only in that she was bolder than the others. Too late for everything except her little home. She had built it for her old days and planted one by one the trees and flowers there. It was lovely to her. Lovely. Somehow before sleep came, she found herself saying aloud, "Oh well, whatever goes over the devil's back, it's got to come under his belly. Something or other, Sykes, like everybody else, is gonna reap his sowing." After that, she was able to build a spiritual earthworks against her husband. His shells could no longer reach her. Amen. She went to sleep and slept until he announced his presence. Let me do that one more time. She went to sleep and slept until he announced his presence in bed by kicking her feet and rudely snatching the cover away. "Give me some cover here. I ain't got the damn foots over on your own side. I'll mash you up in your mouth for drawing that skillet on me." Delia went clear to the railing without answering him. A triumphant indifference to all that he was or did. All right, y'all, so that was part 1. I'm gonna read part 2 and 3 tomorrow and the day after. All right, so tune in. All right, thanks, bye.